And now, weighing in out of the blue corner, Josh the Punk Thompson. 100% agree. And on the other mic, he weighs in from the red corner, Big John McCarthy.
All right, it is September 8th. We are back. The Weighing In podcast. I've been out doing all kinds of manly stuff that Josh Thompson will never do, working with tractors, cutting logs, doing man work. And he's been out there, getting a haircut, looking pretty, getting ready to do something that is going to be GQ. But that's why I love the guy. What's up, brother?
This is so great. It's so funny. Like, people listened to our show last week and like, oh yeah, giving John a hard time for doing all the man work. Look, people, maybe I don't look it, but I'm half Mexican. When I was a kid, every summer I had to work in the fields, picking apricots, picking prunes, doing all this stuff, right? I don't want to hear shit about hard labor, okay? Like, no, I'm not. Every summer, all my money went to my grandmother to help feed us. I don't want to hear shit. People tell me, I'm like, no, I'm not dumb enough to actually, if I know someone else can do the work and I don't have to do it, I'm going to pay someone to do it. I have earned that right now to do that. John is not that man. That's fine. I'm okay with that.
I haven't earned the right, I guess. Okay.
No, you have. You have. You just, for some reason, feel the need to do it. And it just baffles me to all means, especially when it comes at your own expense in terms of getting hurt every single time. Like you said today, you were cutting wood. I'm cutting wood. I'm like, wait till the axe whoops your ass. It's gonna for sure one of these days fuck you up.
I was back to the
I'm
chainsaw, baby.
Yeah, I'm like, what's going on? Jeez, man, you're crazy.
It's if you fall off the horse or the ladder, you get right back on. You don't give up. You don't give in.
When you're young, you do that shit. Not when you're 70 years old, my friend.
As long as I can put the microphone to cover the gray in my beard, I'm good, man.
This is true. I mean, this is hard labor right here. This is what I consider hard labor.
This is what you consider hard labor.
Yes, If you guys, I mean, you guys have seen it, but people at home don't see it. It takes me forever to get my damn camera and my audio to work. Every damn show. Does the light look good? How come my camera's not working? What's going on with the microphone? Gosh, man, this becomes hard labor real quick. So, all right, guys. Well, hey, if you guys, first time you guys are listening to us, and if it's not the first time you guys are listening to us and you guys haven't hit the subscribe button, hit the little bell off to the corner too. That'll notify you when we have our shows drop. We also have a clips channel, which is growing a lot in the last probably 2 to 3 weeks. There's a link down below on our main channel. Hit that link. That'll take you to our clips channel. Subscribe to that as well. That is short clips that we do from our main show, but then we also do a specific show for that called Weighing In Interjection, which only is up on our clips channel. It's a fun little show that we do where we talk shit to each other, talk really fast, talk really loud, and people make fun of us for that. But it is fun though. It's more entertainment than it is anything, but we do some sound bites on there that are always fun. So check that out. And I think that's pretty much it. Let's get into this week. There's not a lot to talk about, John.
First off, no UFC. There is the Dana White Contender Series that is going on and stuff, but we normally don't get into the Dana White Contender Series and stuff. But there are some great fights that are coming up, and we can talk about those. There is, unfortunately, in my opinion, even though I have people that yell at me about this, there is the Triller event. The Triller event that has now Evander Holyfield, who is a great person. I've done a lot of stuff with him, against Vitor Belfort, another great person. But I'm not sure that I want to see Evander at 58 years of age, since I'm 58 years of age, fighting. Not the best thing to be happening. And it's not that he can't. Look, I can tell you, and I've been around Evander a lot, he can still hit like a sumbitch because we've done stuff. And he's got power in his hands, but he wasn't even training for this. He was sitting, he hasn't been really, he trains, but he's not training for a fight. And to sit here and now all of a sudden throw him in, I know Vitor's been training. I just don't want to see a guy who has done so many great things in the sport of boxing, get hurt just because, at the age you're slower. And that's the real problem I see is speed. He's obviously still, he knows how to box. He knows how to throw his hands. The power's not going to go away, but he's slower. And he just doesn't run at the same, RPM, and he doesn't think in the same, speed He doesn't, the thought patterns aren't going to be the same. I just hope he doesn't get hurt.
John, even if he can win this fight, which he probably could, even if he could win this fight, I'm more upset at the fact that Vitor is okay with taking this fight. That to me, it's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like,
Money.
show a little bit of something, like a little bit of like. I mean, someone posted something today saying, "Hey, you know what? But Vitor's, he's cheated before in the past when it came to MMA in terms of using PEDs. What makes you think? Why wouldn't he take this fight just for money or for reckoning? This is horrible." And I also look at the promoters. I also am thinking in terms of the Florida Commission. Why are you sanctioning this fight?
Thank you.
Absolutely not. And when you know that California, not like California is like the gold standard. I don't want to I love California, the commission. I love Andy Foster. Even though we've had issues with them before in the past, personally. but Andy Foster's a great commissioner. I love him. He's always been super respectful.
Josh, let it go.
I know.
Let it go.
But this is really dangerous. This is dangerous. The Florida Commission should be ashamed of themselves for allowing this fight to happen. And then I go to the promotion. Why are you guys even seeking him out saying, "Hey, would you like this fight?" Absolutely not. And then lastly, Vitor Belfort, what the hell are you doing? Like, why? If something happens to him, God forbid something happens to him, like it's on your hands, man. Like you knew you didn't need to take this fight. You're fighting a 58-year-old. Are you fucking kidding me? It doesn't make any sense, man. It doesn't.
You got to figure. Over 10 years ago, New York refused to give Evander a license to box. Over 10 years ago. Okay.
Yeah.
And there's reasons why. Medically, there's reasons why. And to sit there and to say, this is a good thing. The funny part is, I hear Evander is the betting favorite already. I'm like, and I love Evander. Like I said, I've done a lot of things with him. He is a good person, but he doesn't run at the same speed that he once did. And I don't want to see him get hurt. But
yeah, like I said, even if he could win the fight, I still would be against this. Even if I knew it was 100% he's going to win the fight, I would still be against this fight. I think it's ridiculous that Triller's doing this. I think the commission should be ashamed of themselves. I've already said this, I know, but I feel like I have to drive it home. I think this is not just a disgrace to boxing. It's upsetting that they're allowing this to happen, knowing that he could potentially get hurt. And that's what's upsetting. He's done enough. He's a fucking walking, living legend when it comes to boxing. All the shit he's done. Stop. Not just him. Don't allow him to do this. This is one of those things. It needs to be stopped. And it's sad that it's going to go through.
And one of the things is, look, he is mentally tough. He is a tough son of a bitch. He won't stop.
Yeah, I know.
And that just makes it worse.
Yep.
Because he will never give up. That's just it's not part of who he is. And I'm just telling you, knowing Vander like I know him, he said, "Well, my mama said I can't stop."
Yeah. Yeah. He's cut from a different cloth. That generation of boxers, they're cut from different cloths. I mean, you look at guys like Tyson and guys like George Foreman and other guys that have come along from that kind of around that era. They're just cut from a different cloth. It was boxing or nothing. And it's sad. It's sad to see that they're allowing this to happen. All of three of them, the state, the promotion, and Vitor. It's upsetting. So.
It's kind of funny. Dave, I kind of look at it as kind of funny that you put Vitor. I agree with you. I think it's the state. You're responsible. You're supposed to be there to protect people and to make sure that things like this don't happen because they don't have to happen. But you're the ones that are allowing it. And then as the promoter, shame on you. Yeah. This is when people look at promoters and go, you know what? Look how nasty you can be.
Scumbags.
Scumbag. That's it. That's the word that comes up. Scumbags. You're just, all about the almighty dollar. You're not caring about the person at all. You're not giving a shit about either of the guys, but you're definitely not caring about Evander. And then you look and you go, you're putting it on Vitor. I never even really thought of putting it on Vitor. It's a totally different way of looking at it.
Look, with Vitor, he's still got a little bit of explosiveness in him.
Yeah, he does.
That's the other thing. Are they testing? Are they not? Are they just doing the regular state testing? Those are the other things.
And I don't like it. And let's think about this, because I want to say I know for a fact, but it's pretty well known that Vitor has been on a TRT program, since he left the UFC. Now, when did he stop it? I don't know, but he was on one. He admitted to being on one. So it's not me saying it. It was him saying it. He admitted to being on one. So when he stops, what, you stopping for a week? You're stopping for 2 weeks? It's none of it. None of it is good.
So you're taking, and that's the thing. He's always been known for his speed, his explosiveness. He has some power. He was always known in the gym of having good boxing and being that real dynamic person in the gym. And now you're taking him, I don't know how old is he? What is he? 43, 40, so he's somewhere around there, right, Vitor?
Yeah, 44.
Somewhere around 44, 45, somewhere around there. And now you're taking him, now you're matching him up against somebody. Sure, he's a veteran in boxing, but he's 10 years older, maybe a little bit more than that. It just doesn't, I put it on him as well, because he could have turned the fight down and said, hey, I want somebody else. Give me somebody else who's a little bit around,
closer
around my age, or just they could have found somebody else. Yeah. And that's, I know they were put in a crunch position because 2 weeks later, it's only been they have a week or 2 weeks, whatever, to get a replacement. But that's not a good enough excuse to me not to put someone's life.
I know that I'm not here to tell anyone they should lose money, but you can always cancel it. Take it in the shorts a little bit and then reschedule it for another time.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Yep.
I guess the other question on it is is it worth doing it? And as far as is it going to sell better than a Tito versus Silva, right? Because that could go as your main event. And I don't think either one's going to outsell the other by a whole lot.
That's true. I never thought about that.
I agree with you. that it's not. I think the Anderson Silva Tito fight. See, and I look at that one. It's like, whether you care or not, at least both 46 years of age, both close, in size as far as. Tito's the bigger guy, but they're close in size, and Anderson has fought at 205, and Tito was always at 205. So, and Anderson's actually making Tito lose weight. We talked about that, probably too much weight, but okay. Everything about them at least matches up. Now, I'm not going to say that Tito was the striker that Anderson was ever, but they're both champions in the UFC. They were both, guys that, competed at a high level. All of it, you look at, you go, all right, I think Tito's going to end up getting his ears boxed off, but okay, it's understandable. And the one thing I will say is, Tito has not taken any type of real beating or abuse for a number of years, probably 10 years. He's fought a lot, and he hasn't taken any real abuse in those fights. He lost to Liam McGeary. He lost by a, backside triangle. So so it's like no big deal. You got choked. Okay. But take a look. When was the last time he took a beating? It was a long time ago. Yeah. So, that one's okay. I'm okay with that one. But
no, I would have liked to have seen that fight get bumped up to the main event, is what Dave was saying. He's saying if they would have bumped up to the main event.
Get rid of the Belfort fight.
Yeah, they wouldn't have lost probably that many pay-per-views, because I'm sorry, I'm not really looking to tune in for that main event now. It just doesn't interest me at all. I would tune in for Anderson and Tito.
I do not want to watch it. Yeah. I'll probably end up having to. I'm definitely not going to fucking pay for a thing for it. I'm not. But, somewhere along the way, I'll see a fucking repeat of the rounds or something. But
true.
Yeah, I don't want it. I don't know.
Dave, what else you got for us?
All right, our next piece of news comes by the way of Jorge Masvidal, who is basically saying he wants Nick Diaz if Diaz gets past Robbie Lawler, and then also he wants both of the Paul brothers as well.
I mean, he's smart. He's doing what he needs to do. He's 36, I think.
He's right at the end.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Anything I've ever heard about him in the gym, he is one of the
best training partners there is.
One of the slickest guys on the feet, slips and moves his head, all these things. Like, he's touching, piecing people up when it comes to the boxing and the kickboxing. Phenomenal. I think I would love to see him fight either one of the Paul brothers. Him and Nick would be a fun fight, because I just like watching any of the Diaz brothers fight, either one of them. But that would be a great fight. The fact that he beat Nate.
Yeah, that's the whole part of that one.
Yeah, tease it up perfectly.
The fact that he had, the BMF belt with Nate, we'll put the BMF belt back out there with Nick. that works. That's a fight that, yeah, everyone would like to see that. I would do that. I would do that one in a heartbeat.
Mm-hmm.
That's a fun fight. That's a fight with two guys that have swagger. They got, they have an aura about them, all cool. Do it.
Yeah.
Hit him against the Paul brothers. Don't care.
Yeah, I would like to see it. That's me. Maybe I'm nerding out a little bit. I mean, I'm just being honest. Like, I'm a Masvidal fan. I go back, all the way back to Strikeforce with them, and I've seen him fight a lot of times and talked with him a lot in the back. And he's a really cool guy, man. Just nice guy to be around, super chill and relaxed. But all that stuff being said, I'd love to see him. He's an OG, and I would love to see him piece up one of the Paul brothers. I don't care, or both. I don't give a shit. But I mean, let's be real. When it comes down to it, it ain't gonna happen unless Dana does a co-promotion, and I don't think that he would do that with George as of now. I say if they gained a little bit more steam, the Paul brothers, if they got another win over, I don't know who else, but somebody else, he may end up doing it, knowing that George is kind of on his way out. He may end up doing that. Hey, let's say last hurrah. But
look at the Paul brothers. Paul brothers didn't gain. Well, excuse me, Jake Paul didn't gain any steam with the Woodley fight.
You don't think so?
No.
I feel like
you'll find a lot of people.
He got validated a lot.
No, I think you find a lot of people that actually feel like he was running the whole fight. A lot of people feel like he didn't really win because Tyron was the guy marching him down and going forward. So a lot of people look at it and go, "Oh, you got knocked down actually with the ropes holding you up." There's a whole lot of things that happen in that. In fact, one of the commissioners, who is, Ray Boom Boom Mancini, is a commissioner for Ohio now. And he said, it was a joke. He goes, the other guy won. He goes, this guy can't box. He just put him on blast. So
wow,
we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, but at the end of the day, when it comes down to it, a win's a win. And they're going to count that as, hey, we're going to keep pushing this guy. They're going to keep pushing him. And they're going to try to get him somebody else. He's going to fight the Fury kid next.
I think if you look at the numbers, and everything that they look analytically as far as, Twitter and Instagram and TikTok and all those things, those guys blew that thing up. So that means there was interest. That means people care. And that means that you'll see him again. I thought he was real smart about he retired. He goes, I'm, boxer retired.
Another page out of Connor's book.
Hey, I'll give him credit. He looks at something, goes, that works, I'll use it. He's smart at marketing.
Yeah. All right.
He's not like us. He's not.
I won't
smart
say much.
As far as
I won't say much.
We're not smart as far as marketing.
Dave, what else you got?
All right, next story is on Darren Till, and our fans actually feedback we got on the last show was that we didn't cover this enough. We didn't go into enough detail on just kind of Darren Till. Not so much giving up, but that kind of was the idea.
Give up?
No.
And Josh, I know you had thrown it on Twitter with that kind of like question behind it. But Michael Bisping came out and said that he tore his ACL. Darren Till tore his ACL 10 weeks before the fight, and is kind of like using it as an excuse.
No, I mean, if he really did tear it, then that's not an excuse. That's a reality. So I'm going to tip my hat for him just even being able to get in there. I was wondering, he looked a little flabby. I know he's never ripped, but he looked a little softer than normal for this fight. Maybe there's a lot of truth behind it. And overall, look, everyone's like, "Oh, how come you guys didn't talk about it more?" Look, the bottom line is that he just couldn't get off on combinations because he's fighting a good wrestler. And Derek Brunson's a good wrestler. The timing, sure, he had landed some clean shots, but anytime someone can just walk you down, people need to remember how hard it is to try to defend someone who's relentless when it comes to wrestling. Look at all the shit that Khabib did to people for years, because one takedown's not enough. It's 2 and 3, and that's what Derek Brunson was doing. He shot, didn't get all the way in, then drove him to the fence, locked his hands, and got the takedown. It's hard. It's especially in a smaller cage. That's the other thing that we never brought up, I think, before.
That's right. We didn't bring it up, and we should have.
Yeah, we should have brought it up last time, but that's the only thing I think realistically that we should have talked about is that the fact that the cage was a lot smaller, it favored Derek Brunson in terms of takedown defense, circling off the cage, taking 2 steps, 3 steps back, and your back's already to the cage versus the bigger cage. You take 4 or 5 steps back, and then all of a sudden you're there. You can take 2 or 3 steps back and circle out, or 3 and 4 steps and circle out still. That makes a huge difference. And so I think overall, look, I don't know where Darren Till goes from here. I think he's 1-4 in his last 5 or something like that is what his record is. I also feel, I don't know if this has something to do with it. What are the training situations like for him over there? I mean, the UK is not really fully wide open. Are they still able to train? Are the gyms active? Are the people that he used to train with, are they as active as he is now because he is still active in the UFC? Maybe some of his old teammates are not there anymore because they're not getting fights. Like, that's the other thing. When you have a team, I mean, I trained one of the biggest teams in the world at AKA. It never failed. Around Halloween, it was a ghost town. No one was there until after New Year's. It was a ghost town. The only people that were there were the ones that were booked for fights, big fights. The rest of them, no one was ever there. Even the smaller guys, the ones that all they needed to do was keep getting better to get into the big show, they still weren't there. It's like, it didn't matter. So during this time, who knows? I mean, during COVID time, maybe people over there are just not taking the chance and going in to train, or maybe there's just no events for the people that he was training with for them to go in and train. And so that's what's hard. I don't know. He hasn't looked the same. I get it, but I can't give you an excuse on what happened. If he tore his knee, that's going to stop. That's going to help. That's going to keep him from being as explosive as he normally is. I don't know, but Derek can't take anything away from Derek Brunson. Derek Brunson fought a good fight, and people give us a hard time saying he was tired.
Derek Brunson was supposedly injured too. Had a real problem with his ribs. Had a rib injury, so he really couldn't train.
So, I mean, and people kept saying, we kept saying he was tired. What he did was he looks like he has slowed down. I meant by his age, not by the fact that he looked tired. I meant that he looked like he's starting to show his age when it comes to speed, which is common. Around that age of 37, 38 is when even me as a lightweight, I started feeling like these kids are all getting a little bit faster than me. It's not as fun anymore. Like, you see the punches coming, but your head it doesn't move off line as fast. And so those are things that I think he's going through right now. And like, he was right. He said, this is my last run. If I don't win this fight, I mean, pretty much I'm not going to get a title shot. So he said a lot of the right things. He got the win, and I'm not going to take anything away from him. And Darren Till, if he did tear his ACL, it would explain a little bit, but it doesn't still change the fact that Derek Brunson fought a good fight.
And it is, the thing is, you got to figure Till was undefeated when he took on Woodley. And he had, come up through a couple of, he beat Donald Cerrone, and then he beat Wonder Boy in a decision. And then, I think he was 17, 16?
17-0.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
When he took on Tyron Woodley, and, he lost. And from there, he lost to Masvidal. That was a big knockout. He did win against Kelvin Gastelum, but then lost against Whitaker. But this is what happens when you get in. If you take a look at the elite guys that he has fought, take a look at all those fights before and take a look at the names. And it's not that there's not some good fighters in there, but they're not elite fighters. And so he was, at 170 pounds, he was huge anyways. Yeah. And then he was fighting these guys that they're good fighters, but they weren't elite fighters. And then he gets into the Donald Cerrone win and the Thompson win. Now he's fighting and he's beating elite fighters. Well, the elite fighters have stayed, but the losses have come, and that can happen. It's nothing against him. He's still a dynamite fighter when it comes to the stand-up game. There is absolutely no doubt a weakness in Darren Till's overall game. Darren Till knows it. His coaches know it. His opponents know it. Everyone knows it. Take him off of his feet, and he's very beatable. Look at what Derek Brunson did. That's how he beat him. Yep. It's not like this is a hard puzzle to solve. Darren Till on the feet, you got your hands full. Darren Till now on the mat, a much more winnable affair for anybody that's up against him. So he's just got to take care of those little things that the takedowns become harder for somebody. The Derek Brunsons can't get those takedowns, can't get their hands together, can't do those things that Derek was able to do and make happen. You start stopping two of those takedowns, the fight becomes a different fight. Yeah. And so that's what, Darren Till's just got to go back to the gym and start working on those things that he knows are the things that are creating the problems in him getting the win. Because he's still a dynamite fighter.
the hardest thing to do was for these stand-up guys that don't really have a lot of wrestling is for them to go against someone who's been wrestling their whole life. You got Derek Brunson, who has been wrestling at a high level for majority of his life, and then he's learned how to transition that into MMA wrestling. And so to think that he was going to go out there, sure, he may have stuffed 1 or 2 takedowns, but as it goes on, Derek Brunson's going to start chain wrestling a little bit better, or he's going to start getting in a little bit deeper, and it ends up backfiring. It's hard to get those guys to learn how to stop a takedown or just stop chain wrestling if you haven't been doing it your whole life, like Derek Brunson. Khabib's had so much success because of that. A lot of John Fitch, relentless. Look at how bad he made Rory McDonald look. And John was over 40 years old at the time and just chasing after single legs on his hands.
Even when
and
he
knees.
was hurt. Even when he was hurt. And still digging for it and gets it and changes the round based upon that takedown. And that's what good wrestling will do for you.
And I've said this a couple times. I don't know if people remember this. Go back and watch the second Junior Dos Santos fight with Kane. I want you guys to go and watch that first round. Yes. Watch that first round. That first round, Kane is chasing him around on his hands and knees, trying to get at his ankles and his knees, because he was like, why would I stand? Why, when I can shoot low-level singles or I can shoot ankle picks and just chase you down? And then eventually I'm going to get up to your body and I'm going to get the takedown. And that's what happened. And then Junior got tired of defending the takedowns and eventually started losing them. And then eventually got pressed to the fence and used his head and his face and did just grimied him up and then just out-gritted him is really what it came down to. It was a lot of like a Randy Couture style. Just let me put my forehead in your chin and your face and just punch you and knee you and elbow you and all these little things, little tricks of the trades. And that's what has made John Fitch successful, Khabib successful. And that's what Derek Brunson does very well. Because when he got on top, it was a different fucking fight. When Derek Brunson got on top of Darren Till had no answer. You could tell the hip pressure and the wrestling was just leaps and bounds above Darren Till's grappling. So, what else? What else you got there, Dave?
All right. Next piece of news is Travis Browne talking about fighter pay. And he is, this has been a big topic recently. And he's on the side of the promoter saying, basically, to summarize what he said, is that people sign the contract so they know what they're getting paid, and then they stop crying about it. And because, as a man or a woman, you made that decision to sign that contract, and so you know what your pay is, and the UFC will offer you the option to go and find a better deal if you can. Otherwise,
John, look.
Go ahead. Go ahead. Come on.
Here's the thing. He's fucking right. He's right.
He is.
You guys, and that's the thing. Like, look, people have fallen in love. Maybe and this is where we're going to go back. People are going to think I'm bashing the UFC. No. People have fallen in love with the fact that they want to fight in the UFC. So they sign contracts that pay them the shitty amount. And so they're okay with that because, I'm in the UFC. You hear it all the time. I fight UFC. People talk about I fight UFC or I'm in the UFC. That's what they want. They want the bragging rights to say that, which is fine. Look, it's your career. You do what you want. But when you sign that contract and you start having success, don't expect to go back to them and say, hey, I want more money until your contract is up. Keep winning. They did their job. They honored their contract. They put the contract in front of you. You went out there and did it, and you got some wins. But when it comes down to it, don't come complaining to me that you want more money until you're ready to say, I'm going to fight out my contract, try out free agency, and do that. Then just shut up. And look, Travis Browne is, maybe that's the way he's saying it, but Dave said that he's on the side of the promoter. That's not the side of the promoter. That's just the way the business, that's not the promoter side. That means that it's both people agreed, okay, that this is what we will pay you. And the fighter agreed. So the fighters knew what he or she was getting themselves into. Travis doesn't sound like he's on the side of the promoter. He's just saying, stop whining about something that you put your name on. And
sorry,
I have to agree with
opinion.
him. Yeah, I know it was your opinion. I know.
Here's the facts of it, and this is what I tell people all the time. First off, Travis is sitting in a different position because he's got a wife that made a lot of money. Okay, so good job, Travis. Okay, very nice.
Jeez, I can't believe you went there. I can't believe you went there.
Come
low
on,
blow.
man. Not
low
a low
blow.
blow. You're
That
gonna
was
say
ruthless.
you don't have to worry about what he made. Look at what she made.
You burned him right there, buddy.
No. I love Travis, and hey, he's a smart guy, and he's doing what he wants, and best of luck to both of them and what they're doing. Congratulations on
they just had a baby.
Have a baby.
They did, or they're gonna?
I think gonna. I don't think she had it yet.
Okay.
Did she have it?
She did, but maybe not. I don't know. I thought she did. I thought she had it like probably like a week or two ago, I believe.
Really? I didn't know.
Yeah.
So congratulations. That's awesome. They've got their Browsy Acres going and stuff. Everything they're doing is fantastic.
No, maybe not. No,
so. Yeah,
no, maybe not. All right, you're right.
So.
All right.
Okay. But anyways, here's the point. And this is where you have to look, and I've said it too many times. The promoter is always going to try to get the fighter for the least amount possible. That's his job. That's how he makes money. The fighter is always going to want more. That's their job, to try to get more. It's going to be, you've got to meet somewhere in the middle. Sometimes you're not going to be happy either way. It's the guys that, when you're looking at something like The Ultimate Fighter, they just had the finals, right? And you had the two guys that won it. Ricky being one of them. Ricky's getting, this, and forever the UFC has broadcast this, 6-figure contract, you're the Ultimate Fighter, and it sounds so good. Well, we all know that contract is not a good contract for the fighter as far as making a lot of money. It's, it sounds like they're going to make a lot of money, but they're not going to make a lot of money, but they are getting something out of it. And that's where you've got to look and say, hey, what I've decided is I'm going to sign this contract. I'm going to go on this show. And I know that if I win it, that contract is not going to be the contract that I want to fight under because I'm not going to be making actually that much money. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to show everyone how good I am in this time period. And I'm going to fight these fights for the amount that the UFC is going to pay me, that I've put my, John Hancock on the line for. And once I get past them, now I'm going to start asking for more money, or I'll go somewhere else that'll pay me more money because I've gotten these wins. And like you always say, winning solves everything. And this is the way you've got to look at it. The UFC, with that Ultimate Fighter contract or any fighter contract they're giving you a lot of exposure. That exposure can work for you if you make it work for you, or it's going to work against you if you go out there and you don't perform. But if you go out and perform, the marketing is going to increase and you're going to get more exposure and things are going to happen. All of that is value. All of that has value to you. All of that costs money. And then finally you get through that 6-fight contract and you are at the end of it, they're going to want to sign you for more because they're going to want to keep you because you have proven, yes, you're not only the Ultimate Fighter, you're a damn good fighter that we can now put into our upper levels and, the top 5 or wherever you're at that time. That's what you're working for. You've got to look at this as the process. And if you don't like what they're offering you after that, then go somewhere else. Be smart because someone will pay you because they will see the value in you.
Yeah, but that all comes from winning.
Yeah.
And every fighter needs to go out there and just win, do the best they can, and and say and do all the right things. There was there's been fighters in the past that it doesn't matter how talented you are. If you're always negative on social media, or if you're always doing things in interviews and just causing a ruckus and a pain in the ass, it doesn't matter. Promotions won't want to deal with you. They don't matter. It doesn't matter how great you are. Sure, they deal with some like John Jones with all the trouble he was in, but he was already their champion. You know what I mean? Like he was already established. They'd already put millions into marketing him and making him who he was. So they rode that ship until the end. But look at where they're at right now. They're like, oh, you're 34, 35 years old. You only got a couple more years left. Now you want to go to heavyweight. You want us to pay you more. Like, we're going to pump our brakes a little bit because you're not going to be around much longer. They're not willing to bend over as much anymore. But when he was 27, they didn't care what he did. There's an old saying, if you were a car salesman, right, you could take the owner's hat in the middle of the road and shit in it if you were the number one salesperson. And that's basically what John Jones was the number one salesperson. So if you were any of these people, like Sugar Sean, he's got a little bit of say right now, but he's being smart. He's talking and calling out people's names, but he doesn't want the big name. Like he turned down the Frankie Edgar fight. At least that's what I was told.
Again, look at the contract that he came in on. He came in on the Dana White Contender Series. Those guys aren't making a lot of money. All right? And Sean understands, hey, if I'm going to fight in this promotion, which I like fighting in, and, it's done a lot of good for my, social media and all these other things, and people now know who I am. But why am I going to fight Frankie Edgar when they'll give me Joe Smith and I make the same amount of money?
Yeah.
I'll go with Joe Smith.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It's
look what happened to the hype train when Yair Rodriguez ran into Frankie. It was Yair, this, and this, and he took that fight. I'll fight Frankie Edgar. Backfire, and I know Frankie's he's older now than when he fought Yair, but Sean's he's not as good a wrestler as Frankie.
He still might have the answer.
Yeah, he still might have the answer when it comes to the wrestling. All right, what else you got there, Dave?
All right, last piece of news, and we'll jump into some fan questions. Is BJ Penn posted this picture where Khabib had named him the second best lightweight ever. And so it's just interesting little note. BG did comment on it and said that he doesn't think Khabib's the type of person that would put himself as number one. So just an interesting little note.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I didn't get to hear the interview or whatever Khabib had said about it. But look, I've trained with both of them. They're both phenomenal. Like, both of them are animals. BJ was just as dominant as Khabib was in the gym when it came down to training, but just different stylistically. The one thing that I will say is this, is if you compare records, there's no comparison. Obviously, Khabib's got 29-0, that type of stuff. But when you get into the people and who they fought in terms of when, BJ Penn has fought every person that you could possibly think of. GSP twice, Matt Hughes 3 times, Lyoto Machina when Lyoto was 220. I mean, he's fought Renzo Gracie, Rodrigo Gracie, Gomi when Gomi was one of the best in the world. He fought him before anyone ever had heard of him. He paid for him. No.
Everyone had heard of Gomi at that time. He fought him when Gomi was hot.
Yeah, when Gomi was hot. And he smashed him. I was there at that fight. He beat the crap out of Gomi. Made him look like he didn't belong in there. And then everyone says, well, yeah, but look he lost all the fights at the end.
Yeah,
he'd already done everything. He'd already done everything.
He just wasn't the same.
He wasn't the same guy towards the end there. And I'm not trying to make any excuses for him, but if I was to match them both up in their primes, it would be I think it would be one of the best fights. One thing that BJ had was he had a lot of punching power. Khabib, not as much punching power, but his stand-up works for him and what he does. The other thing that BJ does very well is that he had really good balance on one foot with his dexterity. People try to take him down. He'd hop around. He could skip out of things. He could turn his knee out and get away from takedowns. He was phenomenal in takedown defense. Maybe towards the end of his career, where people remember, they're like, oh, he got smashed always on the bottom. He just towards the end there, after his Frankie losses, he wasn't the same guy anymore. But if you look at some of the ways he dominated top guys, I mean, you guys got to go back to the very first GSP fight where GSP tried to quit on the stool after the first round, and BJ, and then they made him go back out there and he was able to get the win over BJ, but BJ was piecing him up with the jab and a right hand. BJ had punching power. He started forcing people to break, and it didn't matter who you were. And like I said, his grappling when he got on top was nasty. Khabib, when he gets on top, is nasty. It's hard for me to compare the two because I train with both of them. I like both of them. They're both phenomenal fighters, but I would agree they're number 1 and number 2. I don't think anybody else should be above BJ or Khabib. Those are the two guys. Now, how you place them is up to you guys. But if you look at who they have fought in terms of when they won the title or who they beat or who they've matched up against, BJ's got the better record in terms of who he's beaten throughout his career. That's it. That's all I can say. That doesn't mean that Khabib couldn't have kept going because, BJ did it for longer, but that doesn't mean that Khabib couldn't have kept going and been 35 or 40-0. He probably could have been, but it just wasn't in the cards. So it's hard for me to choose who would be better, but I do agree that they're 1 and 2 or 2 and whoever is first. I don't care how you place them, but everyone's going to look at BJ and be like, oh yeah, his record's almost 500. Yeah, but look at the fucking people he fought. That's the thing.
I look at it, BJ at a certain time was probably the most impressive MMA fighter there was. And at one time, I even said, look, if you're going to pick one guy's set of skills, it's BJ Penn. That's the guy that you want to, match. He was never a wrestler, but he had incredible wrestling defense. He was so hard to take down. He was so, as you said, dexterity. Just, the way he could balance and the things that he could do. I always go back to I watched him when he fought Renzo Gracie, and it was in the Rumble on the Rock, and he was starting to beat Renzo, and Renzo was in guard, he was on his back, trying to play guard, and BJ did a pass that nobody could have done that pass at that time. The dexterity they had with his legs, the ability to bring his legs into certain positions and do things, nobody else could move their legs in that way. And he was just unique. He was special. When I get into the record thing, you could look and you could say, look, he did fight a lot of guys that were champions. He fought against, Matt Serra was, a champion at one time who beat, St. Pierre. He fought St. Pierre twice. He fought, guys like, he lost to Jens Pulver, then beat Jens Pulver. But, he just was a unique individual at a unique time. It's just that when it went and things weren't working for him, they went bad fast.
Yeah.
But, I look at it, I'm going to say, who was the most dominant guy I ever saw? Still, it's Khabib.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I agree with you.
And I was in the cage with both of them a lot, and I did a lot of BJ's fights, and I love him. The most dominant guy I've ever seen is that guy from Dagestan.
No, I agree with you. I'm not taking away from that at all. I'm just saying when you compare, it's not fair to compare the two in their careers, because one fought all the way up to 200, up to heavyweight when he fought Lyoto at 220. And if you go back and watch that fight, I believe he dropped Lyoto with a punch. And then Lyoto smashed him a little bit after that. But there was some moments in that fight where they were throwing down, and Lyoto was 220 and BJ was 190. You know what I mean? And with Matt Hughes at the time people thought he was unbeatable at the time that BJ beat him. And if you go back and watch that fight,
Matt was a monster.
He was a monster. One of probably the strongest guy I think I've ever had grab a hold of me. I was like, holy cow! He had like leather hands. Yeah, and but if you go back and watch that first fight, because I was on that card when I fought Hermes Franca on that card. Matt went to go shoot a takedown, and BJ kind of just flung him off. And before Matt could get back to like a scrambling position, BJ jumped to his back and choked him out. And this is the time when people thought that Matt Hughes was unstoppable.
And that was BJ going up to 170.
Yes. And that's the other thing is that I know that Khabib wasn't around for long in terms of being the champion and defending over and over and over like John Jones or anybody else. But for BJ to do all the things that he did, he fought at, 70, became champion there. He fought at 55, became champion there. I mean, he beat, he's beaten Jens Pulver, guys that were legends, legends at the time. He's beaten Dean Thomas, who now the UFC uses as an analyst to help break down their fights. He was phenomenal as well.
Yep.
He's absolutely phenomenal fighter as well. He beat Uno in 11 seconds. I mean, these are guys that were at the top of their game. He was beating them. Matt Serra, he beat also. He's beaten a ton of guys. The GSP was the one guy that I think eluded him, but he had moments in those fights where he was beating him, and he had him rumbling back. I would have liked to have seen Khabib go up and fight like a Tyron Woodley or, a Colby Covington, or I would say Usman, but I know they're friends and that's not going to happen. But I would have liked to have seen him try to get to the 170 because BJ didn't care. He just said, "Oh, no. You're the guy. You're the one that everyone's talking about. And you're not talking about me. Well, I'm going to prove to everyone that I could beat you." And there's stories of him training with Randy Couture and having good days.
Oh yeah,
and that, yeah. And there's other,
dude, he. I'm telling you right now, I'm not going to say Matt Lindland is an Olympic silver medalist. Okay, and all I can tell you is Matt Lindland hates BJ Penn.
Yes,
because he couldn't get him down. Couldn't take him down. And if he finally got him down, could not keep him down within 2 seconds. He was back up and he's like, who the fuck is this guy?
Yeah. And that's the other thing. So when he came, he was at AKA to start off his UFC career. Guys like Frank Shamrock, who were known for being slippery, getting off their backs, being able to like slide out of things, never stop moving. His method was never stop moving, keep moving so you can't settle in. That shit didn't work. No. He was all over Frank. Frank never had a way to get away once he got taken down. And then if you guys go back and watch the Gomi fight, you said he was good, and I said the same thing. He was good at takedown defense. But if you look at the Gomi fight, he barreled through Gomi in terms of takedowns. He took him down and just got on top of him and smashed him. He was double legging, I believe to start the second round, he double legged him right off of his feet, right to his back. One of the most explosive takedowns I've seen. It was phenomenal, and so I look at all the guys that BJ's fought, and then I think people look too much at the most recent part of his record. And you got to look back at the history of what he's done. And I think it's 1 and 2. I just don't know who you put ahead. That's it. Just based on longevity.
First off, it doesn't matter. It doesn't. And this is what people, and you're always going to get people that are going to be mad at what you say. Mm-hmm. But, you can't take, sometimes things from the outside and bring them into the fight game. Also because, I say Khabib is the most dominant fighter I've ever seen in the cage. If you're going to say who has had the greatest career, it's John Jones.
Yeah.
But a lot of people are going to look and say, yeah, but he's, ran over this and did this and he's been with the law. And it's like, that's not part of his fight career.
Yeah, I agree with
you. As far as just,
but Dick Bills is.
Fight.
Just throwing that out there.
But just as part of an impressive, career and what he's accomplished, who do you put over him? You can't.
No.
Even George St. Pierre didn't have as many title defenses. Or title wins or any of those things. It's just, he's unbelievable. So
yeah,
there's always that one that you can always put, just change the course of the question a little bit and you come up with a different answer.
Yep. The one thing is to go back, look, I'm not trying to take in, obviously I've trained with Khabib. He's, I consider him a friend. It's just one of those things where people forget the history of the sport sometimes. They want to just stamp the name on whoever's the most recent. And Khabib, like you said, was the most dominant. And I've trained with him for years, and I trained with BJ for years, and they both were very dominant in the gym. Stylistically, though, in a matchup, it would have been a phenomenal fight. It would have been, I don't even know. I don't know how to say it. Like BJ in his prime and Khabib when he left the sport, just an insane fight. So it's something we can sit here and just dream about.
There you go.
All right, what else you got for us, Dave?
All right, ready? Hop into some fan questions.
Let's do it, baby.
All right, everyone. Now go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code WayneIn, and also scan your barcode to get your extra bonus. If you go to mybookie.ag, use the promo code WayneIn. They'll give you a little extra spending cash for all the bets you can pick up coming up on sports, football, basketball, all the events that are coming. Hockey is now starting as well, coming up soon. So all these events are now be available on mybookie.ag. Use the promo code WayneIn. And like I said, if you scan that barcode, you will be able to get an extra bonus.
The first question comes from Mike Kibtib, who asks, do you think that Dana White made UFC 267 free, non-pay-per-view, so Aljo can't get pay-per-view points as champion? Is he trying to avoid setting a precedent here?
I don't think so. I think really what it is that I think people really believe that Peter Yan was winning that fight, and they've already seen what's going to happen in part 2. So there won't be as many pay-per-view buys for it. I think that's the reality is like, hey, we've already seen kind of the conclusion of what's going to happen. And outside of barring like another, foul, I think you're going to end up seeing the title change hands, and people are just like, yeah, I've already seen that fight. It was a one-sided.
And there's other things involved with it also. Let's just look and say that fight is going to be coming from Abu Dhabi. You're talking about a different time. So if he puts it on pay-per-view, he's got to have it happen at a certain time here in North America, where if he doesn't put it on pay-per-view, then he can have it at an earlier time here in North America because it's free. Yeah. So there's a lot of things that go into that. I do not think that it has anything to do with taking something away from Aljamain. Aljamain is going to be compensated well for that because his management will say, but they'll give him something more, and he'll be compensated fairly for it. So I don't think that they're trying to do anything to Aljamain. I think Aljamain's going to have a championship fight against Peter Yan. I think the real reason they're doing it is not a pay-per-view is based upon when they can put it on.
Yeah, I think I want to go back a little bit because a lot of people, I ride Aljo kind of hard over all the stuff that happened. But the bottom line is Peter Yan fouled him. He did.
Yep.
It's fair that he got the title. Now, I think that like you said, the ref could have handled things differently. So it would have stayed with Peter Yan and they would have had to fight again anyways.
That would have been up to the judges.
That would have been up to the judge. So it literally came down to, I gave him a hard time because at the time, it was like that whole act inside the cage, like as if he didn't know what was going on and this and that. That's all. That's as a fighter, that's one of those things that we all look at and go, all right, you don't have to play it up. The guy fouled you. We understand. If you can't go on or you shouldn't go on because you feel a little fucked up, I back you. But don't try to sell it in the cage, like with the eyes and the, and it just that's why I give him a hard time. That's it, and I won't stop doing that. That's fucking me. That's just who I am. I'm going to ride people that do things like that because the generation of guys that I came up with fighting, they didn't do that shit. It was like, hey, you fucking fouled me. Okay. Either I keep fighting or I just say, hey, I can't continue because I can't see, or, my nut's swollen, whatever it was, for any reason that you couldn't continue. You just said, I can't continue. And that's just the way it is. And, you live to fight another day, but it's just that's why I said what I said. And look, the bottom line is they're going to fight again here anyways. We're going to find out who's going to be the champion. So what else, Dave?
Next question from Chris Triana MMA. Why haven't we seen updated gloves in UFC? I'm confused about any negative issues. Only helps everyone in my view. Question mark.
Why haven't we seen anything with updated gloves?
But what do you want to update? Just a little bit curved fingers?
Yeah.
Is that what they're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you would know because the UFC owns the company, correct? That makes the gloves.
I don't know if they own the company, but
okay.
You got to look and say everything has to do with contracts and what people have, and there's a lot more to it than just saying, "Oh, we're going to change gloves." At one time, long ago at UFC 30, we changed the gloves because we used to use Boxergenic gloves and switched them to Awano gloves, and had John Awano was the guy that was doing all the gloves. And then we had a problem with the gloves with UFC 46 where you fought Hermes Franca. Mm-hmm. Randy Couture lost his title to Vitor Belfort based upon an equipment failure because it was a glove with the edge, and that edge cut Randy's eyelid in a way that they wouldn't let the fight go on. So he changed the gloves again, and there's been changes to the gloves. Why they can't come up with something that they're happy with, I can't tell you. As a promotion, they can use whatever gloves they want. They can make all the complaints in the world they want, but they can change the gloves at any time. That's their call.
Yeah, I can only think of this like it's a manufacturing line situation where they don't want to have it bent or curved, but I can't imagine that costing way too much to get them redone. But I mean, They might just want to stick with what they've been using forever. I understand, you don't want to change what you guys have been using, but it would save, I think, from eye pokes if they were curved a little bit more. I mean, they're not curved at all. When you get them, they're straight, they're flat.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of fighters, like with myself, I'll work it to try and get it to soften up, after I get my my hands wrapped. You work them, you twist them, you spin them, or, you do all these things, step on them, all those things.
Back a long time ago with John Awano's gloves, they were always that kind of, flat. And so I would take, and you as the fighter would come up to the table and we would let you try on any size glove you wanted. And you said, yeah, these are good. I would take that pair that you said were good. I would wrap them, put them into a bag. And that night I would take and wrap them up into a ball to try to get them so you could move your hands and it would be free and it wouldn't be this flat thing. What they do now is completely different, and that's just times. That's the way it is.
Next
question from Casey Fenton asking for the 57th time, obviously impatient. What is Big John's training background? I want to hear about his powerlifting and martial arts training. I can't be the only one. You're the only one, trust me.
He's totally the only one.
Oh man.
Oh, let's see. My background. I have no background. There you go. It's done. I started boxing because my dad was very afraid that I would not be an athlete. So I started boxing when I was 8 years old. I started doing boxing. I did it with a guy named Al Stankiewicz, Lanky Al Stankiewicz, who ended up being Vitor Belfort's coach. I would go down to the East LA Boys Club and started boxing there and doing stuff, and then started wrestling when I was 9 and did that all the way through until I was 17. And I played sports in high school, obviously, went to college, and then started powerlifting right my second year of college, and dropped out of college because I was an idiot, and then kept up with the powerlifting. I got pretty good at that. I did lifts of 802 in the squat, I think it was 813 in the deadlift. The best bench I ever got in a competition, I think, was 476. So I could never hit the 500 mark when I was competing. And then stopped doing that so I could become a runner, so I could be on LAPD. And then on LAPD, I started working out again and doing some boxing and stuff. And then I ended up with Gracie Jiu-Jitsu and started doing Jiu-Jitsu from there. It took me like 14 years to get a black belt, 16 years, something like that. So I was not very good at it, and just kept sparring and doing stuff and just learning. And I was lucky enough that I got to meet a lot of people that got to teach me really good stuff, and then started kickboxing and stuff. But no, I did stupid smoker fights and things like that, but that was it.
John, how did you like jump the fences and stuff when you were chasing bad guys through the streets of LA?
I ran through fences.
Ah, okay.
You know what he did? He used the radio and called his buddy. That's what cops do, bud. My dad always told me, you can outrun the cops, but you can't outrun the radio. It's like,
yeah, that is true.
You know?
Yeah.
Next question from
next.
George G asking for Josh. What is your perspective of the famous GRE Eddie Bravo Bangkok Ready story about your fight versus Gerald Stebrand?
I'm not familiar with the story. I just know that Gerald came in. I knew he was highly touted. I had seen him just recently, like 3 weeks before, maybe a month before I fought him. He grappled against Rich Crunkleton, and he had beat Rich Crunkleton. And Rich was one of my training partners. Rich was like, yeah, his guard's really funky and weird, this and that. So he had beat Rich, and then I was expecting him to be a jiu-jitsu guy. I knew he was. I knew he played the rubber guard. But then when he came out to the fight, he had all this Thai shit.
Yeah,
I was like, he's gonna stand with me. All right, fuck, because all we worked that whole camp was take down defense and get back to my feet. That's all we worked, was like sprawling, brawling, and just lots of kickboxing. And so that was it. And then when he came out, then we started exchanging some punches, and he became a wrestler real quick, but not a very good one though. And so, but then once I realized he was a great jiu-jitsu guy. He was phenomenal when it came to his attacks. But once you started hitting him, he wasn't the same guy. He was real loose with his legs. His rubber guard wasn't as tight. He had isolated a couple arms on me, but he just, as I started punching him, even if it was a little tiny little rabbit punches, he started loosening up his grip real quick. So that was it. I don't know the story on Bangkok Ready, but he came out like a Thai guy with this head thing and this dress.
He had the Mongol on, man. He had the whole thing, baby.
Yeah, he had the whole thing, and I was like, all right, wait, we guess we standing, but it didn't work out that way. But that's all I know. I don't know the whole story behind it, but it's funny. Next.
All right. Steven asks, Sean O'Malley says he isn't taking any ranked fighters until he gets paid more. Is that a smart strategy?
We said this.
We already talked about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. Like,
why?
he's smart.
Why
like
is it
John
people
said,
don't realize? Why is it that when you take a look at, I want you to think about this. Okay, I can make somebody a house, okay, that is a 10 by 10 house, all right, and is going to take me a week of effort to do, and I'm going to get paid $10,000 for it. Now, I'm not saying that's the money that Sean's getting, but $10,000 for it. Or I can make somebody a 100 by 100 foot house that's going to take me a year and a half to do, and I get $10,000 for it. That's the concept of what Sean O'Malley is looking at when he's saying, look, for the money that I'm making based upon the contract that I signed from the Dana White Contender Series, I am in a position where I don't want to fight the top-ranked guys because I'm not getting paid enough in my opinion. So I'll fight the lesser guys right now, and I'll fight this contract out, and then I'll ask for what I think I'm worth, and then if you give me that, I'll fight anybody you want. That's what he's saying. It's pretty simple.
Sean, I know you listen to our show because you've said some things about that you don't think I don't like you. I like you, buddy, and I like you even more because you did this. Smart move, well played, good stuff. Okay? I think it's brilliant. I'm glad you're doing it. Smart move. Next.
All right, next question comes from Jeff Wadey, who asked, Big John, is there a difference in referee stoppages in women fights compared to men's? Should there be? Question mark.
No, there should not. There should be nothing that is different in you officiating a male fight compared to a female fight. They are exactly the same. As far as all the fouls are the same. Now, the one that people are going to say is, oh, what about getting kicked to the nuts? Yes, you're right. Women don't have nuts, okay? But it's not called a nut shot foul. It's called a groin, okay? You cannot hit the groin, kick the groin in any fashion. And women have a groin the same as a man. So all the rules, all the fouls, everything matches up. And you should be giving women every bit of the same, leeway, if that's what you're giving, or you're going to let them go to the same standard as the male. Absolutely, there should be no difference.
Might I remind people that, like, when women get kicked there, it fucking hurts them too.
Yeah, there you go.
It's not like it's just, oh, okay, didn't feel it. No, it hurts. It hurts them too.
Yeah.
So, next.
Next question from Adam Troutman, who asks, is it still a draw if the judges score it 29-28, 27-30, and 28-28? Is a majority draw two judges saying it's a draw and that overrides the third judge? I don't know. You can read the question.
I have no fucking clue. You started putting numbers in there, I got lost.
Okay. Here, I'll answer your question for you. It would be when you're talking about that's a split draw. Okay, what you just put out, because you said 29-28 one way, right? Dave?
Yep, 29-28, yep.
Towards fighter A, we'll say.
Mm-hmm.
And then 30-27 towards fighter B?
Yeah, he has it 27-30, but yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if that matters.
30-27, same thing. Okay. Towards fighter B. So now it comes into the third, and the third judge is saying that it's a draw. So what you have is a split, meaning one judge going with one fighter. Doesn't matter that it was how many rounds he gave him. One judge going with another fighter. Doesn't matter how many rounds. And one judge saying, oh, I had it even. So we have what's called a split draw. That, you're going to get all kinds of things. When you talk about majority decisions and things like that, you'll get a majority decision when you have one fighter gets, we'll say 30-27 from one judge gets 29-28 from another. And then another judge has it as even. We'll say 28-28. That's a majority decision, okay, based upon the majority of the judges went with the one fighter. So there's all kinds of ways when you're looking at judging. There's, unanimous decisions, split decisions, draws, majority decisions, majority draw. You can get a majority draw based upon you get two judges giving draws with one judge giving a winning score to either fighter A or fighter B. There's all kinds of ways. And then you get into technical decisions, technical draws. There's all kinds of things that are part of scoring. And with what you're saying, it doesn't matter that it was 29-28 and 30-27. As far as those scores being different, doesn't matter.
Next.
All right. Next question comes from Ghost asking, going into a bar brawl, you can call two fighters in MMA history to have your back. Who do you call?
I'll let you go, Josh.
Oh, man. Two guys to have my back. Jeez. I would probably take BJ and Kane. I'd probably take those two.
Wow.
BJ has punching power, man. He's got hard power, and then with Kane, he's just ruthless. And he's got conditioning. He'll fight until everyone's dead. Like he's got the cardio to go. So, yeah. I mean, obviously, I could have probably picked like bigger guys, but I'm going based off of guys that I know. Yeah, probably. I mean, like, but yeah, those guys.
All right. I'll go with Tank Abbott since he likes doing it. It's fun. Tank loved a good fight, so put him in a bar scene. That's a good thing. And then I'll take someone like I'll take a Francis Ngannou since he's got that punching power. Yeah, that would be nice. Yeah, ruthless. All he's got to do is he throws one shot, hits one guy, the wind knocks out 3. Yeah, beautiful.
But if there's one wrestler in that group, he's fucked. Oh man.
Well, since I had to stop Mark Coleman numerous times from fighting in things, I can tell you right now, Mark Coleman's another good person to put on your side.
Absolutely.
Put the hammer on your side. Kevin Randleman would have been another.
Yeah. I've been out with Coleman in Hawaii a couple times. Woo.
Hello.
Yeah. Fun times. Fun stories and fun times.
Good man.
Next question comes from Hurrifan C asking, question for both John and Josh. What's more likely to happen? There be a cross-promotion tournament or the UFC expand and have more weight classes?
UFC expands and has more weight classes. You know, this goes back to man, I'm telling you, Dana learned a lesson when when the UFC wasn't number one and he was trying, to do everything he could, make things happen. And Lorenzo Fertitta was working at it. And they decided they were going to send some fighters over to Pride, and Pride was going to supposedly send some fighters back. That worked in one direction. And when it's a one-way street, I tell Josh all the time, man, that's a one-way street. That don't fucking work. Okay? Yeah. It's got to be a 2-lane highway. All right? It's got to come both ways. And Dana learned a lesson. Oh, I got screwed. I'm never going to let that happen to me again. And that's why you don't see cross-promotion stuff. And now in the position that he's in with the UFC has done all this marketing, done all these things to become this number one entity within the mixed martial arts world. Why am I going to build up somebody else? That's the way he's looking at it. And it makes sense. I'm not, I in no way would I ever say he's wrong. Okay. He's not wrong. It makes sense for his business. Why am I going to do that? So, the reason we, as the nerds of, the sport, we want to see it because we want to see the best fights and we want to see matchups that we know that would be great. But, just because we want it doesn't mean it's always going to happen. And in most times, I will say that the UFC is going to have more weight classes before you see cross promotion.
Yeah, I ditto that argument. Next.
There you go.
C Carter
that was the greatest comment you ever said. Just like, let me make this easy. I ditto that one. Done.
Yeah.
Next question from C Carter 501, who asked, John, what's the biggest shot you've ever taken while trying to stop or end a fight?
I already answered.
Yeah, we've answered that.
Come on. You want me to answer it again?
Yeah. Who was it?
Did you?
Just he's answered before.
Mark Coleman hit me in the freaking ear, and it made my ear fucking puff up. I had to drain my ear. So, that's back when they had bare knuckles and stuff. There was no gloves.
I still have a pair of the gloves that they came out with right after the bare knuckle. They're like
Boxergenics.
They were like neoprene. Yeah. I have a pair in my garage still. I gotta get them framed. Just put them up. All the different gloves I have. The only ones I wasn't able to keep was the
Pride ones.
The Pride ones. Fuck, man, they hounded me. I didn't even get out of the fucking ring, and they
won't
someone
pay you.
Following me. No,
they won't. I know guys that have taken those and put those in. And you know how Pride used to pay guys, right? And if they didn't get those gloves, those guys went to get paid, and they would say,
"Yeah, gloves." I'm like, "Fuck." Like, yeah, you don't get your check until you get your gloves back. Until we get our gloves, I was like, "Fuck, this is horrible."
That's it, man.
Crazy. All right.
Next question comes from Shushan, who asks, how much of Douglas Lima's decline has been mental? In the Amosov fight, he seemed to accept bottom position and was really doing anything on his feet. I think he meant wasn't doing anything on his feet.
Okay, I'm going to take this in a completely different direction that most people haven't thought of. He beats Rory McDonald. He wins $1 million. Plus, I want to remind people he gets paid a lot of money per fight. So not only did he win $1 million, he won a lot more than that just for his fight purse. I think after that fight, sure, he was motivated to train. He went and fought Gegard, and he knew that if I fight Gegard, all I got to do is make sure I don't get destroyed like Roy did, and I'll be okay because I'm still the champ at 170. I think when he had to go back down in weight, the motivation just wasn't the same. I think it's mental. Like I'm sitting pretty. Let's just say he's won after working his way through that tournament. He probably won $3 million, I think, probably, maybe somewhere around there, upward, give or take, $500,000 or whatever, maybe $1 million. He's sitting fine. I think when people get comfortable, this is what you see. I think he's made plenty of money. He's got a successful gym that he has with his brother, I believe, and they're doing good things. He's a happy man. He's married. He's got beautiful kids. He's very much a family guy. He's one of the most humblest, nicest guys I think I've ever been around. I think he's living a good life right now, and I think that's hard. That's all the hard work has been done. The motivation probably is not the same.
I think that's an astute observation of something that when you look, and it's hard to be motivated when at every little road that your career takes you, you look for those things to motivate you, and Douglas has had those, and he's had those moments when he won. He had a knee injury going into his fight when he was defending his belt for the first time against Koreshkov, and Koreshkov took him down multiple times, and so when he fought him the second time, he was motivated. He wanted him, and even when he came back and was going to, fight in the Grand Prix, because it was the fight with Rory McDonald when he lost. He had that fight. Yeah. He had lost the first 2 rounds. He came back and he was damaging Rory, and he takes the next 2 rounds, and you look going into the 5th, you're going, man, this is Douglas Lima's time. And for whatever reason, accepted the bottom and didn't do, anything to get himself out from that, and lose the fight, and realized I gave that fight away. And so he comes back into that welterweight tournament, and he had motivation. His motivation was to get back at Rory McDonald. He wanted that Rory fight back. He goes, I gave that away. I knew I should have beat him. That was my mistake. I learned something from it. I'm going to show you that I can beat this guy. He was motivated. Exactly what Josh is talking about. He went through that tournament beautifully in all of his fights. And then when he wins it, just like Josh says, they give him Gegard. If he doesn't beat him at 185, it'd be nice. He'd like to, but if I don't, you have a safety net. Yeah. And when you have a safety net, sometimes that doesn't allow you to be the person that you should be. And we're going to see exactly where Douglas Lima is at in this fight with MVP, because this is not, he was not having an easy time with MVP in the first one. And this is going to be in London, and this is going to be in, the backyard of, MVP, and all the fans are going to be going for him. Douglas is going to be by himself, so he better be motivated for this fight, or it's not going to end well either. So we're going to see, but you're right. He's, there has been a difference in his last couple fights. We've all seen it. I think in the Amosov fight, there's times when you're competing against somebody that I can't stop what this person does. Yeah. You can't sit there and tell everyone, Jesus Christ, man, you seeing this, man? You're in the middle of the fight. And so instead of just going after him and doing what you can do, you're looking for that one moment, that one punch, that one shot that you can land, and it never comes. And you get taken down again, and now you're back in the same position. So, we'll see which Douglas Lima comes back in this fight. and it could be if it's the same thing that we saw in the last one, then it's pretty much time to start to, go off into the sunset because things aren't going to get any better for him. But he's a great fighter. He's been a great person. As Josh says, you can't ask for a nicer person, a better family man. Things he does, he's outstanding.
Yeah, absolutely phenomenal. Like you said, though, is that with the Amosov fight, when you realize you're kind of losing, you're just kind of in survival mode after that. And like you said, when he had the fallback thing with with Gegard, like no one really, I think a lot of people didn't expect him to win. And I don't know if he expected himself to win. He's one of those guys that I feel like he needs to believe in himself. He didn't believe in himself that he could beat Roy, I think, in the first fight. But then in the 5th round, he let it slip away. Going into the second fight, he's like, I know I can beat him now. And he did interviews talking about how, like, absolutely I can beat him. He's like, I made the mistake of not beating him the first time. And it was kind of like one of those things he had talked about past fights. I think it was with Korshkov or somebody else he had fought, saying that he didn't think he could beat him. Then he had to come back and beat the guy 2 more times. So there's been fighters along the way that they have to believe in themselves to begin with, and they have to figure out when they get in there with that fighter, oh man, I could have beat him. And so he seems to be one of those guys. But I'm not going to take too much away from him against the Amosov thing. There's been 26 other people that have tried to beat Amosov, and none of them have succeeded. So I want people to keep that in mind. He's 26-0. I mean, now don't get me wrong. He made it look easy against Douglas Lima. So I want to figure out what's going on with Lima in terms of his mindset. I think once he started getting taken down, I was like, man, I can't stop this takedown. Like you said, he started looking for the one shot, and the one shot never came. And by the end of the thing, the fight was over. So there's a lot of things you can look at. But with the MVP fight, this fight is very interesting to me because MVP was, I wouldn't say he was winning that first fight, but he was making it real hard for Lima.
Yeah.
Up until that kick and that punch. He was making it hard for Lima, and 10 seconds before that, he rocked Lima.
He hurt
Lima. Yeah, he hurt Lima.
Yeah.
And so I think now you're going to see a MVP just take his time, step in, step out, but piece him up and just kind of do what he's doing. Try to just stick and move and wait for Lima to overcommit, which Lima probably won't. Now, you may end up where he just ended up being touched for 5 rounds, like how he was with Amosov, how he just kept getting taken down. But if that's the way to beat Lima, that's the way to beat Lima. That's what he's going to have to do, because right now, the only thing stopping him from getting a title shot MVP is Douglas Lima. And so he's going to have to do whatever it takes to make sure he doesn't get caught again, or he doesn't get taken down, or he doesn't get smashed by Lima, because Lima should be motivated. If he's not motivated for this fight, then, like you said, it's time maybe to start taking a step back, or maybe take some time off, because he's not super old either.
No,
I want to say he's 33, 34, somewhere in there, 34. Anyways, is he not? I think somewhere around there. Anyways, but I think that's a fight. I think this fight will dictate kind of how he moves forward. Next
question from Ben Cooley, who asks, how do you feel about Fedor fighting Tim Johnson in Russia? That seems like a very hard matchup. # still.
It's a really hard matchup. I've said this. If you guys listen to our podcast, I don't think you could have picked a worse opponent for him. He's big. He hits hard. He's got good wrestling. Look, people look at Tim Johnson, they go, he's dumpy, he's this and that, but he's got a gas tank. He's a bear. He's got a gas tank, and he hits hard, and he's got wrestling. He gets on top, he's going to smash you. I mean, I don't think this is a good fight for Fedor. And how do I feel about it? I actually don't want to see Fedor fight him at all. I want to see Fedor fight someone who's not Tim Johnson. I didn't want to see him fight Junior Dos Santos or Overeem. I didn't want to see him fight them either, though. I wanted to see him fight somebody else. I don't know who. I can't give you a name, but I don't know. Yeah. Anyways, I'm not too keen on the fight, just to be honest.
Ditto.
Still in my shit. All right, next one from. Oh, two more. Sorry, two more.
Okay. All right. Next one's from Jason Curran, who asked, Josh, how did it feel to stop Nate?
I mean, it felt good. I mean, realistically, it was a long but it was a long time away from the UFC, and to come back first fight in. But I had to beg them to give me someone in the top 10. Like, they were trying to give me all these other guys, and I was off in China doing a movie. And and I was going back and forth with Bob while I was overseas. And I just kept telling him, no, I'm good. No. For 10 weeks, I was over there doing a movie. For 10 weeks, almost every week, they came back to me with a new opponent. I said, no. So finally, they came back to me with Nate. And I was like, perfect, I'll take it. I just wanted somebody that, because I already knew that Gilbert was getting a title shot against Benson. And I had just went to a split decision loss against Gilbert. I'm like, now you're going to tell me that I'm not going to get anybody in the top 10. I was like, nah, I'll pass. But I also want to remind people that I already knew Dana White didn't like me from my first stint there. And so from that first stint and then fighting in Strikeforce for so long,
can't
becoming the
believe
champion.
you would think that.
No, I don't think it. I know that. So that's the thing, is I legit know it. So it just, so I knew what they were doing. I just kept waiting. I was like, look, I'm good, man. So I did, when it came down to them finally giving me Nate, I said, look, if you give me someone tough, I'll take it. It was no different with the Pettis situation, when they kept telling me, okay, you're going to fight Pettis. And then they pulled Pettis. And when Pettis was pulled, they kept trying to give me no-name guys. And I was like, nah, I'm good. I'll wait. And I got a lot of earful from Joe Silva. Okay, you'll fucking be out for 6 months. Cool, I'll be out for 6 months. I left it at that. A week later, they called me for Benson. That's the kind of thing, like, you just got to stick to your guns. But a lot of these fighters spend all their money, so they're not able to. So I was able to save, and at the time when I was filming a movie in China, I was making money. So it's like, whatever, I'm doing fine. So I just left it as is.
All right, let's be honest. You were not making money being an actor. You were making money. I was making money. I actually did make money. It was pretty impressive, actually. Well, I'll tell you.
Hey, I want to tell you how I made that money. They had casted Luke Rockhold, and a week before he was supposed to fly out to go do the show, to do the movie, he's like, I ain't going. So Bob Cook called me. He's like, hey, I need you to read for these guys, and let me know what you think. Like, if you want to do the show. I'm like, all right, let me see. So I read for him, and I was like, I really don't. I'm not into it, whatever. And so I didn't want to go, but then they threw some money at me, and I was like, I need a little bit more money. It was during Christmas time, and I was like, I need a little bit more money. And so I had actually pushed them back into waiting until after New Year's for me to go. They wanted me to leave the day after Christmas, and I was like, absolutely not. I'm not leaving the day after Christmas. There's no way. And so then a week went by, and then they said, okay, can you leave on January 1st? They're like, can you leave that day? I was like, nah. They pushed it to January 2nd. I left on January 2nd. Yeah. Roger Corman was the producer of it or whatever that put all the money. He's well known for doing Don the Dragon Wilson's show, Jackie Chan's, and Jet Li when they first started out. But he did almost all of Don the Dragon Wilson's movies. They were all his shows. So I was like, all right, whatever. So I went. Just like in a whim, just went. I read on like 2 days before Christmas, and then a week and a half later, I was in China filming a movie. Yeah, that was it. But in terms of knocking out Nate, it was great. It felt good to get a win coming back, and the way it happened, and it was great. Next.
All right, our last one comes from Leighton Tapley asking, can Aaron Pico defeat Patricio Pitbull or AJ McKee now that his game is dialed in?
Aaron Pico, just give him just a little bit more time. All right. He has finally learned how to meld his skills, his talents, and perform as an MMA fighter. He's now actually transitioning at times when he didn't know how to before. And he's doing it purposefully and doing it well. He has found the right spot with the Jackson Winklejohn camp. He is on target to be one of the best featherweights in the world. Just give him another year and a half. That's all I say. Yeah. Give him another year and a half. Don't expect anything out of him, and he's going to be something special.
Yeah. Yes. I rode him hard for a while, and he went to the right camp. They made the adjustments. I said there was all these questions that need to be answered by him. Everyone knows he can wrestle, but all he wanted to do was box. And then he went to Jackson Winks, and they started grooming him into being a real mixed martial artist. And once that happened, he became dangerous. He learned how to, even up until this last fight, he learned the transitions from the wrestling or from the striking to the takedown. But even before the fights before that, he was still struggling with the punching and the wrestling together. It was one or the other. So the last fight, he answered all those questions, from the punching to the takedowns to the ground and pound. I mean, he's gotten really good, but I have to agree with John. Another year and a half, at least, I think at least, for him to establish himself as a top featherweight. I think he is one of the top featherweights now in Bellator. But I think he still has the confidence is building, but he needs a little bit more. You know, he went through that rough patch in the beginning, and I think he needs to dig himself out of that in terms of just for himself also. It's to show that he can develop his game. I want to see, he's been trying to hit submissions. He's been trying to do a lot of other things that look really good to his game. But he also hasn't fought the best of the best as of yet right now. He's fighting better guys, but he hasn't fought the top level of guys yet. Now, can he beat Patricio? I'm not ready to say that. I think Patricio's, if you're saying someone's going to have the two of them together, both have a lot of punching power. You know, but I can't recall the last time, I mean, outside of the AJ McKee fight, I can't recall the last time Patricio's been knocked out. You know, with Aaron, you know, he can be clipped.
He didn't get knocked out. He got head kicked and stayed on his feet.
Yeah,
pretty good.
That's true as well.
He ended up coming right back up to his feet. So,
yeah, but I think I think AJ would pose. Yeah, AJ poses a lot of concern for him because of the speed and the athleticism, and those are the things that I think would be hard for Aaron. But I think in a year, Aaron will be a completely different fighter than what you see now, and look how good he is now. So I think in a year and a half, you're going to see a completely different person.
His last fight was unbelievable. Unbelievable performance.
Yeah.
I mean, and just the pace at what I will give Aiden Lee. Look at that guy came in shape. He was ready to fight. He just got overwhelmed by a guy that was nonstop, and he was fighting off everything, never gave in. Just an incredible performance by both guys. But Aaron Pico proved at that junction right there, he can be the complete mixed martial artist. He's only getting better. Just give him a little bit of time. That's all we say.
Yeah, I want to see Aaron fight guys like Daniel Weichel, a guy with a lot of experience. You know, guys like that. I want to see him get into that level of guys here shortly. Probably one or two more fights, I think. And then if I was to go through the rest of these guys, like Jeremy Kennedy's, I don't think it's a good. I think it's an easy matchup for. Not easy. I shouldn't say easy. I think it favors Aaron pretty, and I think same thing with Pedro Cavallo. I think it favors Aaron as well. Daniel Weichel will be a tough matchup because he's so well rounded. He's good everywhere. He's got good kickboxing, good boxing as well. Emmanuel Sanchez, I think, is kind of almost tailor made for him, for Aaron. You know, he walks forward and takes shots, and he gives shots, and I think that's a bad fight for Emmanuel Sanchez. Adam Boric, we've already seen that fight, but I'm sure they may run it back again. Mads Burnell, not a good easy. Not right now. Not right now. But I think it's a fight that he could beat him because Mads can't take him down, and Aaron's got better boxing.
But if Mads is a guy who will stand in front of him and keep coming forward, and eventually that pressure will make Aaron try to take him down, and that's what Mads wants. So
yeah, possibly. I think Aaron's got enough power though to make Mads stay away.
He's got,
but I mean, there's a lot of interesting.
He's got fire in his hands.
Yeah, he does. All right. So before we wrap this up, go to ProWrestlingTees.com/weighing in. Make sure you guys use the promo code ANDSTILL and pick up any of our shirts in all different colors. We've got that one right there, which is Home Improvement with Podcast Dave hanging over the fence and John with the big mammoth hands or small, tiny hands, I think is what it is. You have little small hands on that picture.
Whoa. Do I have small hands in this?
Yeah.
Damn.
Well, you have small
hands.
Look
at your little small hands. That's wrong.
I do have small hands though in real life. We've got the Terminator shirt. We've got Home Improvement. We've got Karate Kid. We've got all of our original logos as well as the logo that we have now in all different colors: black, blue, red, green, and gray, and a bunch of other stuff. Go to ProWrestlingTees.com/weighing in. Use the promo code ANDSTILL. And also, don't forget to hit the subscribe button on all of our channels on the iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Play, Spotify. Those are our major ones. So go ahead and hit the subscribe there for the audio platforms, and then go to YouTube. Hit the link down below in our major YouTube channel. That'll take you to our Clips channel where we do our Wayne interjection, which we're about to film right now after we wrap this up.
Trouble.
So John, that wraps us up. What do you got, bud?
That does wrap us up. I want to say thank you for everyone that came in to listen to us. We hope you enjoyed. Sorry that there is not going to be a major fight this weekend, but we will come up with something that you will like to see. And as I say this, I say, see ya.